Mother Teresa proved those scoffers wrong because she was willing to live in God's will. Hello everyone, I'm Father Jim Kelleher here with Liturgy Prep for Wednesday, August 18th. And today I'd like to focus on the first reading from the Old Testament, where we see the story of the Israelite people wanting to have a king rule over them, even though God has been the one guiding them up to now. And so Jotham gives, one of their leaders, gives an example of why this is not a good idea. And he talks about trees growing up, like an olive tree, a fig tree, and a buckhorn tree. So first they ask the olive tree to rule over them, but the olive tree doesn't want to give up his fruit. Then they ask the fig tree, but he doesn't want to give up the sweetness of his fruit either. So now they're all settled on the buckhorn tree, and it looks like that's the way they're going to go. But they don't know that the buckhorn tree takes away their sunlight and makes it hard for them to thrive and grow. This is the problem when we try to self-rule and not let God rule. And this is the temptation of self-will. And each one of us have this temptation to assert our will over the will of God. Why? Because we want to stay in our comfort zone. Because of our human condition, we tend to want to take the easier path. So today I'd like to offer us a heroic example of following God's will so that we'll try to strive a little harder ourselves. And that heroic example is the life of Mother Teresa. All of us know Mother Teresa's basic life. She served the poorest of the poor. And most of us are aware that first she was a nun teaching a high school at a private high school in Calcutta behind the safety of the convent walls. She did that till she was 36 years old. But in 1946, at 36, she went on a train to Darjeeling in the Himalayas to do her annual retreat, when while she was riding on this train on September 10th, 1946, Jesus appeared to her. What did Jesus say to her? Jesus basically showed her the slums of Calcutta, showed these families living packed like sardines in these little hovels. And he said, Mother Teresa, I want you to be my light. I want you to bring my light to these children of mine. And Mother listened. When she got back to Calcutta, she had to go and get the permission of the Archbishop to be able to do this. And so 2 years later, there she was, going into the slums by herself. One nun. What did she do first? She saw the children playing, but they didn't know how to read or write. So she gathered them around her and started drawing the alphabet on the ground. She taught them to read. People scoffed at her and said, these kids are not going to amount to anything. Well, you know what? Mother Teresa persevered, and when she received more nuns in her order, she had little schools for these poor kids. Some of them went on through high school and even to college. Mother Teresa proved those scoffers wrong because she was willing to live in God's will, to do God's will. Well, you know, she became very good friends with Pope John Paul II. And one day Pope John Paul said to her, Mother, I need to ask you something. And Mother said, well, what is it, Holy Father? And he says, I need to ask you to be my pro-life ambassador, to bring the pro-life message to places where I can't be everywhere. I need your help. I need your voice. So how did Mother Teresa respond? Well, in 1979, she won the Nobel Peace Prize. And in receiving the prize in Oslo, Norway, she thanked all the people for this prize. She thanked them in the name of the poor, for she said that it's really the poor receiving this prize. And then she proceeded to talk about who are really the poorest countries of the world. And she said, the poorest countries of the world are those that kill their own children. The poorest countries of the world are those who allow abortion to take the life of an innocent. Wow, you should have seen the faces of those leaders from all over the world. They are being called to accountability by a little 4'11" nun who was willing to do God's will. You know what? Why did she stand it? Why did she obey JP2? Why did she do other things that were very hard to do? Because after a lot of prayer, she felt the call to take a private vow in which she got permission from her spiritual director to take that vow. And that vow was this, that she vowed that she would never deny whatever God asked of her, even in the smallest thing. And she took this vow under the pain of mortal sin. That's heroic. But she did that not relying on herself. But she knew that if she made that vow, God would supply her the grace to do it, like speaking the pro-life message upon receiving the Nobel Peace Prize. So Mother Teresa is now in heaven with God, but she continues to do the work of God on earth. She's looking down here at you and me, and she's saying, will you be the voice of the unborn? Let's turn to Mother Teresa and ask her to pray for us. Ave Maria.